Herzlich willkommen zurück auf Schalke America and Syria Sit Down combined. It's a stream night. It is not Monday, like I promised. Had some things going on in the house I got to take care of. But it's Wednesday. We're here nonetheless. How is everyone doing tonight? Excited to be here. Hope everyone's doing well. I got some news to share. But first, let's go with the rundown for tonight. See what we're going to talk about here tonight. See people in the chat. Dirk in the chat. Anthony as well. Joseph, I see you. Hello. Gluk auf to everyone. Hello, everyone. Let's get with the rundown for tonight. All right, first we're going to talk Schalke first hour, about an hour. We're going to recap the Westfalen Pokal final. For those who don't know what that means, that is the women's Westfalen Pokal. Westfalen Liga is where they play, and they had the cup final. It was Dortmund against Schalke, the Riviera Derby. We don't get that in the men's game, but we get in the women's game. It's probably more entertaining than we've seen in the men's game in a while. So, got to talk about that. New man Frank Baumann, the new sporting director for Schalke. He had his first press conference on Sunday. An interesting press conference. It went about like 55 minutes or so. Good tidbits from Frank Baumann. We'll talk about some of the comments he made in that. I won't watch that whole video, believe me. It was worth watching live for sure. We're not going to recap it all here tonight. We'll take some tidbits of the conversations that he had and talk about that. And then also, there's a new manager in town as well, Myron Muslic. If you haven't checked it out yet, go check out our YouTube page where we have a tactics video, what to expect from Muslic from his time both at Plymouth Argyle recently and then Cercle Bruges prior to that. So what can we expect from that? I'll give my thoughts on my instant reactions for those who didn't see my instant reaction, and then how I feel now post doing the tactics video and hearing what Frank Baumann had to say as well. So we'll get into all of that. Then we'll go into the second hour, talk some Serie A. This is going to be all about managers. This episode, this stream. We're going to talk about Cremonese. They're back in Serie A. Give it a quick update on the Sampdoria Brescia situation. We talk about how Sampdoria were relegated. They got a lifeline because Brescia had some irregularities. We'll talk about what's happened since our last stream. We'll talk Simone Inzaghi, Pippo Inzaghi, and the rest of the coaching chaos that's going on in Serie A. I think that's where we'll focus tonight. Yes, I know Luka Modric is back. Reinders possibly gone. Teo Hernandez possibly gone from Milan. Probably some other movements in Serie A. Kevin De Bruyne back, right? Or Kevin back. He's in Serie A, so got a lot to talk about tonight for sure. How's everyone doing, huh? That's the rundown. Let's give my quick news update about what I had mentioned. I had some big updates that I'm gonna share with everybody. This will be and relax. I'm just taking a break. I'm gonna take a brief summer hiatus because I am moving. I am moving from the East Coast to the Midwest. And so it'll take me a couple weeks to get situated there and then make sure I got internet over there and then get things going. I'll be closer to Jack now. We're not going to be neighbors or anything, but I'll be closer than I am now. But no longer on the East Coast. I am moving to the Midwest. So this will be my last stream while I get things all situated on my end and then packing out and head out west. So next time I will stream after this episode, it'll be a different location. So we'll see how that all works out. But excited for the move. Excited to talk some coaching changes and all that's all coaching nonsense that went on this past week or so in Bundesliga, Zweite Bundesliga and Serie A. So let's get this stuff going. You could be close to Frank. I will be closer to Frank as well. I'm closer to Jack than I will be to Frank, but Frank's only 2 hours away from Jack. He's in Wisconsin. Jack will be in Illinois, and I will be in Ohio. So, yeah. So next time we see me streaming, I'll be in another location in the United States. So, hope everyone's doing Apex. Good to see you, my friend. All right, let's kick things off with. Let's go back to Schalke and let's talk the Westfalen Pokal finale. We'll watch the highlights and then talk about the game. For those who don't remember or don't recall or don't know, this is the third River Derby of the season between the women. First game happened in the regular season. That game ended in a 0-0 draw. Very entertaining game. Matuszek, the goalkeeper, had some really great saves in the game. I thought Baumann had a really great game as well. But 0-0, missed some clear chances, left that on the table. Went into the second Revere Derby where it was all on the line. Promotion was on the line because only one team in the league gets promoted. Schalke and Dortmund, number 1 and 2. Dortmund won on that day. I believe it was 2-1. You saw a great goal by who scored the goal there? Habibovic scored a nice, great chip over the goalkeeper, and then 2 goals by Dortmund kind of sealed the victory there. So this is a chance to really Schalke even up the series on the year. This is the cup final, trying to get revenge, trying to prevent Dortmund from getting the double. And thus, that's where we stand, and we'll get to the game highlights, I should say. And this is not the Bundesliga, so we should be okay showing these highlights. But I guess time will tell. Let's get on.
Runde 5 oder auch ganz einfach gesagt,
I put the subtitles for those who want to follow along.
An diesem
Really just
Sonntagnachmittag im
football.
einmal mehr ausverkauften Stadion.
There you go.
Rote Erde, 10.000 Zuschauer sind da. Ein starker Ballgewinn. Roland Reimann war es, glaube ich. Starke Übersicht. Dana Marquardt. Und
Great save by Matacek.
Julia Matuszek.
And this was like a sign of things to come here, I think.
Erste dicke Chance in diesem Spiel, 10. Minute.
This was a good game, but
Nein, kein Elfmeter, ist die Kontermöglichkeit.
I'll hold my comments
Über
here.
Annika Enderle. Tempo. Jawohl, hier ist schnell auf Mera. Mera Tay ist durch, viel quer. Und da ist die Grätsche noch.
And the thing, at least early on in this game, is that like Schalke would get deep,
Müssen wir auch
turnover, and it'll be a quick counterattack by Dortmund. Luckily, the defender made a save there. Previously, it was Matacek.
Richtung Elfmeterpunkt gezogen. Paula Reimer mit dem Kopfball in die Mitte gespielt und
It was like
ein bisschen
the better chances were Dortmund early on and
Nicht raus.
throughout.
Ja, gut dran geblieben von Nora Willicke.
Bad clearance.
Jetzt ist er drin, 1:0 für Borussia Dortmund.
Bad clearance. Kind of looked like Loris Karius or Hecker in there.
Annika Enderle war es, glaube ich.
I mean, just bad clearance there, Matacek, right to the Dortmund player. She got the save initially, but it fell to the other Dortmund player and went into the goal. Weak shot, but went in.
Die Siegtorschütze.
Oh, gute
Really bad
Bewegung.
defense there as well.
Mera Tay. Aber auch gut gehalten. Gute Aktion von Mera.
Schalke's goalkeeper really had to work out in this game.
Schöne Bewegung, schöner Abschluss. Aber dann auch eine gute Parade. Hier sehen, ja, ich ahne schon, dass es gleich Nachspielzeit gibt. Deswegen ich hoffe, dass es auch angezeigt wird. Hier.
Annika Enderle, nochmal mit der
Look at
Reingabe.
that. Lucked out there. Should have been 2-0.
Nochmal Marie. Oh Marie! Ins Gesicht. So, da sehen wir Annika Enderle, die sich durchsetzt. Dann
Really poor defense. I mean, like, left them wide open. Luckily, she missed it completely, but like, horrible defending there. No defending
there.
there.
Nochmal Marie Grote.
Yeah, I know, Joseph. I know.
Mit VAR hätte das Elfmeter gegeben.
Also,
Have to be the black and
das
yellows,
ist
the
die Torschütze
bumblebees.
bis hierhin. Annika Enderle mit dem Tor.
Kein Foulspiel. Jetzt könnte er wieder der Tempozug auf der linken Seite.
Another
abgehen.
counterattack
Jawohl,
here in
jetzt
the second
zieht
half.
vorbei, Zieh doch vorbei. Und in der Mitte lauert Dana. Der Ball kommt in die Mitte. Da ist Dana. Das gibt's doch nicht.
Should have been 3-0 there.
Das denkt sie sich auch gerade. Ein Treffer kann hier plötzlich wieder alles verändern.
Here was a chance. Off the crossbar. That was a chance in the game. That guy went in. Things could have changed.
So weit wär's gewesen.
Off the crossbar. Look at this play.
Lara Deli.
Boah. Auch richtig jung noch, richtig
There
talentiert.
you go, another counterattack. Look at that defense. No defense.
Annika Enderle.
Off the post.
Nochmal Enderle in die Mitte. Ja, Freunde, herzlich
Could have been
willkommen
4-1 there.
Westfalen-Pokalfinale.
4-0.
Sie nimmt Fahrt auf. Latte drüben, Pfosten hüben. Jetzt kommt erstmal Line. In der Mitte ist Annika Enderle.
Yeah, wide open.
Annika Enderle.
Game, set,
2:0.
match. That's all she wrote. That's all she wrote in the game. Dortmund women would go on to win 2-0 in the game. You saw the both goals there. Honestly, of the 3 games this season, the third one was the worst one for Schalke, I should say. Dortmund looked like the superior team in this. You could argue that throughout the season, yeah, Schalke and Dortmund were 1-2, but Dortmund were probably the better of the 2 teams. Both teams went on tremendous runs at the end of the season. Obviously, Dortmund had one more win than Schalke with the defeat to them at the end of the regular season. But this game, really, you saw like the defense is poor. The girls are just tired. They were just clearly tired. The impact players they had throughout the season really weren't there, other than Marucek, the goalkeeper. She made some big saves in the game from the very onset of the game. Entertaining game, right? But Dortmund was just that much better, unfortunately, and so they went on to win the game, 2-0, win the cup, got the double. Hey, this might be the only River Derby we get to watch for a while, right? Unless somehow we do well in our Pokal, in the men's Pokal. So we'll see if they get to play again. We'll see how that goes, because Dortmund are getting promoted next season, and Schalke will have find a new challenger, I guess, in the Westfalenliga next season. So we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, three exciting games this year. 2 of them were really close, and this one really was. It's 2-0. Score says kind of close, but I mean, really, this game, this is all Dortmund. Anytime Schalke did make any kind of threat, they turned it over, and a dangerous counterattack happened the other way. So, hate to say it, Joseph, earmuffs, but fully deserved win by Dortmund there. They looked the better team in this one, and they won the Pokal, unfortunately. So, what can you do? That's the last we're going to talk of that team, the Black and Yellows, for a while, I hope. Unless they're playing against each other. So let's move on quickly. Let's move on quickly away from that and get to the men's team. This was a big weekend, obviously, with the big news that broke on, what was it, Friday or Saturday, that Myron Muslic was the new manager out of nowhere. And we'll get to him in a second. But that was announced on Saturday, I guess it was. And to kind of backtrack this thing, several weeks ago, I would say, Frank Baumann had made the comment that his goal was to announce a new manager at his first press conference on June 1st. That's when he officially takes over as a sporting director. And you heard all these names, obviously, Titz and Kwasniak and Anfang were some of the guys who were at the top of the list. And all of a sudden, you started seeing either their chances of signing them are unlikely because the price is too high, or there was other interest somewhere else, or maybe they weren't as interested as we thought. And we're like, who the hell are we going to get? We've heard all these names. And out of left blue, we get Myron Muslic. So Frank Baumann does get to make unveil his new manager, per se, at his press conference. But the main thing I wanted to see from the press conference is what we hadn't seen up to this point. Yes, he's been in a transcendiary role. No more bumblebees. I got you, Joseph. In his transcendiary role, we hadn't heard any really statements, what's the mission, what's the plan going to be for this team. I was hoping, my goal was, at this press conference, we would get all that. Why to pick the coach? What's his methodology? What is his plan of attack? Is there a short-term plan, long-term plan? What is the goal to get back to the Bundesliga? All that stuff. And it was a really good press conference, I think. For those, I would imagine, for those who were on the fence with Baumann, not sure, especially how the news of the hiring and other things that led up to this. If you're still on the fence about Baumann, I thought that was a good press conference to kind of quiet those anxieties from him. And I think for those of us who were excited about Baumann and what he could potentially do, we got to hear what he's about and give a little bit of optimism heading into this, because I think the thing we all understood, that there's chaos on this in the main team, but upper management is the chaos. And that's where all this stuff has been going on. And what we've noticed over the last many years, probably for a long time, but certainly the last many years, is that leaks have happened left and right. Coaches weren't trusting the management. You had people up top going against each other, leaks here and there. And so could Baumann address that? Kees van Wonderen brought this to our attention. We all knew this, but he made it evident while he was still manager. Yuri Mulder confirmed that they understood what happened here, and would Frank Baumann build upon that And I feel like we got all that stuff. At least how I feel. If you don't feel that way after the Frank Baumann conversation press conference, please let me know in the comments, either here or on YouTube. But I want to get to some of the tidbits that he said from this. Amazing, Vincent. Ciao. But let's get some of the conversations or the statements that Baumann made at his press conference. And there's his glowing mug there. Former Werder Bremen player and sporting director, and I think even coach at some point. But let's read it here. Frank Baumann, focus has to be on the everyday work. New board member for sport, Frank Baumann officially began his role on Sunday, June 1st. During his presentation, he answered questions from the numerous media representatives in attendance. And here's a summary of his key outtakes. What's crazy to me is he's 9 years old, 6 years older than me. Axel Heffer is just like 5 years older than me. I feel old now. Nonetheless. All right, so Frank Baumann on his start at Schalke. Today is his official start date. That was on Sunday, but he has already been involved in much of the goings-on over the past few weeks and has been able to use the time since signing to hold many talks with current and former Schalke players. One of the buzzes that we saw leading into the weekend is he had this lunch with Mike Buskins at a pub or a restaurant somewhere, and people snapped the pictures. Obviously, Gelsenkirchen is a close community, and so they're not going to miss that. And so they're like, oh, is Buskins coming back? Is he going to be part of the team? What's going on there? And so, as said here, he has met with several former players, and he explained why. Let's see if it says in here. This has provided me, Baumann, with a detailed overview of what makes Schalke tick and what we need to tackle and change together. The Schalke Club principles form the basis of our medium-term strategy, which we want to implement as a collective. Didn't say it there, but also part of it, what he was saying is like he's really trying to understand what makes Schalke. What is their DNA? What do the fans see and understand? What do the former players tell you? What do people on the coaching staff tell you? And what is the supervisory board? He wants to get it from everybody's side to truly understand what it means to be Schalke. And I think that aspect's been lost on a lot of people who were hired in different positions through the years. And so that's a great thing to hear from the new man there. Baumann on discussions with club figures. He says, I am convinced we can work together as a unit to put together the structures in order to be successful. The people I work with are always important to me. The discussions with the supervisory board, headed up by Axel Heffer, Matthias Tillmann, Christina Rühle-Hammers, were very positive, taking place on a foundation of trust at the same time, so I immediately came away with a good feeling. On collaboration with Ben Manga and Yuri Mulder, he says, I've spoken to both of them several times over the past few weeks and have gained a very good impression of both Ben and Yuri. They complement each other very well. It is important that everyone has a role at the club and contributes to the success of Schalke in the best possible way by providing their own strengths. Ben's specialty lies in scouting, while Yuri serves as primary contact with the senior side for the coach, team, staff, and media. We need a common mindset at the club in order to produce the best possible performances on and off the pitch. Many of the conversations or questions from the reporters during this press conference are asked about, like, what do you make of supervisory board, like, always differing, maybe bickering, not agreeing on things? Do they all agree with the coach, the coaching decision being made? And he's like, look, no, not everybody necessarily agreed, but I don't want everybody to agree. I don't want a bunch of yes men, essentially. He's like, I want there to be conversation, debate. We need to know all the viewpoint, everybody's viewpoint, and only then will we have to make the best answer, or know the best answer, make the best decision, when we get everybody's input and then make the decision from there. And there's also the comments about Ben Manga and Yuri Mulder, and maybe Ben Manga getting involved with the coaching and being conflicts about who he wants versus who the coach wants. And they asked Baumann, how do you handle that when so many people are trying to have their say? And Baumann's like, look, it's basically what he said was there's a hierarchy, there's roles, right? And so everyone has to know their role and stick to their role. And if everyone knows their role and works together as a team, everything should work its way out. So he sounds like he wants to nip all that stuff, that bickering going on. Debates are good. You got to have both positive and negative sides of everything you do, so you have a full understanding of what's going on. But the backstabbing, the leaking stuff to the media, that stuff has to stop. And I loved hearing that from Baumann. Can he implement this? I don't know. It's a big ask. But yeah, it's exactly what is needed. Continuing on, he says, on the style of play going forward, a more broken down passive brand of football does not work at Schalke. So here's where I think he was talking about, like, obviously some of the guys who were rumored were Titz and Kwasniak and Anfang. Those guys play a very open passive style of play, especially Kwasniak and Titz. And he's like, that kind of style that doesn't work at Schalke. Schalke's history is characterized by two approaches. Those being a working mentality, the Malocher, and then and the Schalke attitude. So we want to see a team out on the pitch who live for football and play with courage, embodying team spirit and going for things ambitiously with the intention of winning every game. I don't want to make a big thing about working hard, though. For me, hard work is one of the basics of football. So it's really just getting back to the grassroots of stuff. Nothing really that we weren't expecting from that. On the selection process regarding the new head coach, here you go. The head coach has the most influence on sporting performance. He is the key to delivering the football we stand for at Schalke on the pitch. Based on this, we began our search with a profile in mind. It was important to us that the coach should have a range of different skills and combine these in his day-to-day work, encompassing expertise and communication skills as well as leadership and sociability. A short list of our frontrunners was drawn up following many interviews and a wide variety of setups and much analysis. We got to know these candidates better in person and to make a further assessment of them. The fact that the new head coach has experience in Germany's second division was a secondary importance in our profile. Now, when we talked about the profile originally, the things that we heard, right, had to be German, in German speaking, had to have second Bundesliga experience, and play an attacking style of football. So right off the bat, he just says, like, having experience in the second Bundesliga, that wasn't a high priority for us. We'd like for him to have that, but it wasn't high on our list. I was like, oh, okay, so what is high on your list? And it was, you know, lifting the boys up. It's communication, it's motivation, you know, getting the players to do what you want, and get them to be all on the same page, which I found was interesting, because all the stuff that we heard leaked to us about what the profile was and what the priorities were, it wasn't what Baumann was saying. It was like, yeah, he wanted those things, but the priority that we thought, or at least that I thought, I can't speak for everybody, but I thought was not even, it was like the opposite of what I thought going into this. All right, where was I? Let's see. Before Kees van Wanderen and Karl Gerhardt, Schalke had a lot of coaches who already worked in Germany, and in many cases that didn't really work out. So the counter that people were saying, like, oh, look at the last two coaches we had, Gerhardt and van Wanderen. They had no experience in the Zweite Liga, and they failed miserably. Baumann's counter to that was, we had guys who worked in Germany before, and they didn't do shit for us. So we're going to find whoever the hell we think is best for us. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Joseph says, tired of cycling through a million coaches. Amen. Says, hope he won't be gone on the winter break. I hope to. He continues on and says, let's see. It was more important to us that the head coach fits in with our idea of how we want to play, and that he can inspire players to help improve their game and has a clear way of doing things and can also work through challenges and help improve their game, has a clear way of doing things and can also work through challenges. In the end, Myron Muslic was our clear choice. I have been following his journey very closely for 3.5 years. Ben and Yuri have also been looking for him at some time. So Baumann was saying that he knew of Myron Muslic for a long time now, and it's because it wasn't like someone asked him, "How did you come up with the name? Like, did you just draw him out of a hat? Did you just like, how did it come up?" Someone mentioned to him, "Look, I knew about it for a long time. Ben and Yuri knew about it a long time. A player that Schalke had gotten previously who came from Cercle Bruges, and he was glowing about Myron Muslic and how he developed him, and so they had." This is Baumann saying that we kind of knew about this guy for a long time now. We're just keeping tabs on him, just based on things we've heard and this and that. And obviously, maybe not obviously, but the rumor is that Myron Muslic was on a lot of people's radar, not just Schalke's. Cologne were looking at him. There were some other Bundesliga clubs that were after him. There were English clubs that were going after him, and I think a couple of Belgian clubs were looking after him as well. So there's interest in Muslic, and he was saying this for a good reason. That's why there was interest in him. So they've been looking at him, and they like what they saw. About squad planning, he says there's definitely quality in the squad that we currently have at our disposal. I always notice players who have not been playing at their full potential in recent years for a variety of reasons. We need to help these out those last. We need to help tease out those last few percents. However, we will not begin the season with the same squad as that is on the pitch at the start of training. There will both be arrivals and departures between now and the conclusion of the transfer window. We want to add quality to our ranks and with new signings. In Timo Becker, we already have been able to secure the services of an important figure in the spine of the team. Others will follow. On the other side of things, 1 or 2 players will also have to leave because we are dependent on producing certain transfer income. This approach to squad planning is nothing new for me since I worked in the same way at Bremen for many years. Okay, I'll pause right there. So far, makes sense. We knew this team is going to have a major overhaul. There's 37 players that are signed to this team. And we were terrible last year, so why would we keep all 37? So you know Bauman's going to make his change. He wants his style of commitment players. Myron Musa is going to want his type of players as well. So you imagine there's going to be a solid core of players that will stay, but a good number of them are going to leave. Who is going to stay is the question. Now, 2 names at the forefront. You know, Jack and I talked about this a couple weeks ago. Musa Silla and Tylan Bullet. 2 guys who are wanted by everybody, by a lot of people. And we figure that we're going to get income. It's going to be from those 2 players. Bauman was asked about that. I'm expecting him to say, we're going to have to sell both players. We need that income to facilitate bringing in other new players. And Bauman was like, look, we realize, we know, after crunching the numbers, we probably don't have to sell both players. We're not going to be able to keep both players, but we don't have to sell both of them. We'll sell one, and we're going to try to sell one and keep the other one. So it kind of goes back to what Jack and I were talking about, like, who would you rather keep, Tylan Bullet or Musa Silla? Who would give you more money at this point? I don't know. It depends on what the needs are for different teams. If a team really needs a striker, they'll pay a little bit more for Musa Silla. Or if they want a defender / midfielder, they're going to pay a little bit more money for Tylan Bullet. Tylan Bullet is younger, so you imagine he would fetch a bigger amount. But, you know, it really depends on what teams are interested in these players and how much they're willing to pay. But Frank Bauman says we only may need to get rid of one of them. And I love hearing that because we don't want to lose all our talent. We're going to need some kind of help next year, whether that's keeping our goal scorer or keeping Tylan Bullet. Jack and I both agree that Tylan Bullet is the kind of the guy you want to keep. He's younger, a lot more potential. He's more versatile. And we've been struggling at the right back position for years. And it's nice to have Tylan Bullet this past year. Seeing him mature, seeing him advance. Now you have Timo Becker back there. If he does Murad up front, you at least have Timo Becker back there. You imagine Timo Becker's going to start with, if Tylan Bullet is still there. And he would be able to help out there. Whether we go with a 3-man back, 4-man back, depending on what Muslic wants, they can complement each other very well. You know, obviously, if someone's going to give us 20 million euros for Tylan Bullet, you kind of got to take that, right? And keep Musa Silla. Then you got a goal scorer at least. Assuming Muslic fits into his style. I'm sure the manager's going to have a lot to say with this, right? If the manager comes out and says, Musa Silla's my guy, I need to have this striker, they'll probably try to find a way to give it Tylan Bullet. Versus the other way, if he says that, Bullet really sets up my style, then Musa Silla's got to go. I would imagine from the tapes I've seen of Plymouth Argyle and Cercle Bruges, that Silla's not more of his guy. I feel like a Hoyland's going to be a guy that's going to be like his style. Maybe in a Keenan Carman if he stays around. But Musa Silla, I don't know if it's going to work out as well. He demands, Muslic does, high pressing, physicality, and Musa Silla doesn't really offer that. He's a great goal scorer. I enjoy having him. Enjoyed having his 20 goals this year or whatever he had. But if Muslic doesn't line up with Muslic's game plan, why are you going to keep him? Right, just going to hurt the team. So we'll see. We'll see who leaves. But if we can keep one of them, that is a win in my book. And Frank Bauman's already got a head start on where I thought he was going to be headed to this season. And speaking of the money thing, one of the questions about Myron Muslic was, you paid 1.2 million euros for him. Like, that's a lot of money. Like, did you have to take that out of the transfer budget? Did you have money set aside for him? And kind of what Bauman already said earlier was like, the coach is the number one most important person on the team. You get that right, everything else will fall into place. If I have to pay a little bit more money for the guy I'm convinced is going to do the job, so be it. So a lot of what Bauman has put his laurels on, with the signing of Myron Muslich for a lot of money, he's got to do well. If he doesn't do well, it's going to look bad on Bauman, as the hiring of Van Vonderen reflected negatively on Ben Manga, right? So keep an eye on that. But yeah, Bauman says, I don't mind paying extra money for coach or player if they're exactly what we need and we're convinced that they're going to make our team better. So conviction there by Bauman. All right, back to his commentary. The significance of the coach in the transfer decisions. I think this is what I was just talking about. The coach is the most important role for me in sport, but he cannot wield the most power. So that was, again, part of the question where asking about, well, what if there's conflict between like what Ben Manga wants or you want? It's like, we want the coach to have a say. It's his team. He has to know what's going to work best for his team, but he can't have all this power and have all the decision making. It has to be a collective where they all agree, because everyone has their own speciality, what they're really good at, what they see, and you need everyone's opinion in the room to come together and make a decision cohesively. And so that's what he's commenting there. He says, nevertheless, I would never sign a player that the coach does not want to have, since that would be doomed to fail from the outset. And this was in direct response to someone asking him about, like, they didn't say Felipe Sanchez and Wisniewski and other guys like that, but they essentially said, like, well, a bunch of players that Karl Gartz did not want was brought on, and then they didn't play, and then there was arguments between Manga and Gararts about playing time for different players when they didn't see eye to eye. And Bauman's like, look, I'm not going to bring in anybody that a coach doesn't want, which is 100% true. Why would you buy a player? I hate when coaches or management do this. They bring in players that they think is good for the team, but if the coach doesn't fit into the coach's plan, what are you doing? It makes no sense. You're wasting money. And so Bauman basically said, I'm not going to buy a player the coach doesn't want, but we're going to work this together as a team, so there's no surprises. So I liked hearing that. We'll see if he stays with that, but that was good commentary that he said there. He said, let's see, we need to ensure that everyone is thinking along the same lines via the means of positive preparation and clarity regarding player profiles. He's like, we're not always going to agree, but at least we know what everybody's thinking at the forefront, so that when a decision made, at least we have all the variables together. The target for this upcoming season, he says, after 2 years of battling against relegation, we need to remain humble while possessing maximum ambition at the same time. Focus has to be on the everyday work and training. That is a decisive factor. We need a clear plan that we can consistently implement together. And this is in regard, I forget who, if it was Sky Dirk or I forget, one of the reporters asked him, the one thing we haven't heard yet, and maybe it was a guy from Kicker, the one thing we haven't heard yet is, what is your plan for returning to the Bundesliga? Or is it 1 year, 3 years? What is it? And Bauman, after saying this, he's like, look, I don't make plans like that. What we need to focus on is the small details. When we do all the small things correctly, the wheels will start rolling, we'll gain momentum, and then we'll be better, and eventually it's impossible for us not to get promoted. So it's doing all the little things correctly to achieve the maximum goal. And I think that's the right way to look at it, because like if you just try to bandage over things and try to take a shortcut, yeah, maybe get promoted like we did 2 years ago or whatever it was, 3 years ago. But how did that do for us? We got relegated right back because it wasn't really well prepared. It wasn't really well thought out. Great. It was a great team. What Rovin Schroeder put together was fantastic, but it wasn't done. They were trying to patch holes. And that team got promoted with a great run at the end of the season. 7-8 wins in a row at the end of the season, right? It wasn't a whole season of playing really remarkable football. They were in mid-table most of the season. So he's like, do all the little things, work on getting all the details correct, and it'll all work its way out. So he's like, I'm not a guy who predicts, but that's what we have to focus on. He goes, the emotions surrounding Schalke. He says, football is an emotional sport, but perhaps even more so at Schalke than anywhere else. However, my job is to look at the processes objectively and soberly and ensure that we stick to our strategy. We need less talk and more action to carry down into the path we have chosen. Success will then materialize in the midterm. And another thing he added to this was like, he's like, Schalke gets you emotional. He goes, I am an emotional man, but you will never see it from me. My job is to remain even keel for everyone so no one gets too high or too low. I keep my emotions in check. I have emotions like anybody else. I'm human, but I will not wear it on my sleeve. I'll do it, privately or something like that, but I will never show it out because everyone has to see us as calm and us with a direction. So, and that's one of the things you heard from Baumann is that he's a cool, calm character. Doesn't really get too angry, get too up or down. So everything we heard from him, I took away that I got from it. I was very impressed with his press conference. I felt more optimistic upon hearing the words of Baumann compared to we're just hearing little tidbits here and there from him and the media about what his thoughts were for the season. Now we kind of got a somewhat of a mission statement. We'll see how that shapes up in the transfer window. Who he lets go, who he brings in, who he keeps is going to be the interesting part because they have a certain profile they're looking to keep. Hard workers, those who play for the crest, not for themselves. So I imagine guys like Barkok's definitely gone, but I mean Yunus is probably gone. Who else? Paul Le Guin's going to be gone. Bachmann will probably say Bachmann seems like a guy that's fit for Muslic. Antwi Ajay, I like him, but I don't know if he's one of the guys because he's looking for something like physicality, right? Kaminsky was never going to be a Muslic guy. Kalash, though. Kalash is a defender who seemed to fit perfectly for Meyer Muslic. So there's some pieces you gotta tinker around and see what would work and what wouldn't work. We'll see how that all shapes up. But interesting words there by Frank Baumann. I was impressed, like I said, after the press conference. And then they talked a little bit about Meyer Muslic. There's the coach there. And so quick statements here from Schalke's website says, we started by creating a clear profile of what we were looking for and carried it out. We already read that by Baumann. But this is what he continued saying. Myron impressed us with both his expertise and communication skills. He knows how to inspire a group. Okay, I already read that earlier. Let's see. Anything new here? Bunch of nonsense about the new coach. Well, what Baumann was trying to say about Myron Muslic was like, I need someone who's experienced in the second division, not necessarily the second division of German football. Plymouth Argyle were in the second division of English football, and he was saying English football is harder than the second division of German football, which I guess I would agree with that, even though the man got relegated from there. But what he did in the short term at Plymouth Argyle got them back into the fight after Wayne Rooney kind of like really embarrassed the club and where he left them off. Did a fairly decent job. He beat Liverpool, which is kind of, we broke that down in the tactics video. And the way he broke that down, go check it out. But he game planned brilliantly for Arne Slot's guys. Found out the weaknesses for Liverpool, where they could exploit them, and displayed solid defense. He's flexible defensively, where he'll put a 3-man back line or a 4-man back line, a 5-man back line, and change different things. But he's all about pressing and pressing triggers. And he presses the hell out of plays, and even at Cercle Bruges, presses up really, really high. And the main thing about pressing up high is sometimes you are exploited, defensively. If they beat that press, they're going on a counter very, very quickly against minimal guys. But it's all about timing of the press, it's a very Gegenpressing, RB Leipzig type of pressing, and so that's where we're going to be going after. And you need to have strikers that are going to be able to do that. That's why I don't think Musa Silva is going to fit that profile. Emil Højlund's going to be a guy who's going to maybe fit that kind of profile better. We'll see how that shapes up. But I remember when the news first broke out that Meyer Muslic was the guy, and I want to know how anybody else feels, if they felt differently. But when I heard that he was the new manager, first of all, I was like, who the hell is Meyer Muslic, right? You saw my little short that I had. I was like, who the hell is Meyer Muslic? I don't know who he was. Obviously, Plymouth Argyle, and the team got relegated. It was to Cercle Bruges. I got them to Europe, right? But before I even knew that, I was like, what are we doing here? It's like, we were told that there were like at least 5 managers that were in the short list. Known commodities in the Zweite Liga and Bundesliga, right? Kwasniak, Titz, Anfang, Matarazzo, Sandro Wagner's name was even mentioned. Who else was mentioned? Tim Walter and a couple others. And so these are all the names that we are looking at. I'm looking at. Hey, I said I never heard of them either. Yeah, and I actually got a contact with some of the Plymouth Argyle fans. I got to set up an interview for that to get more in depth on their thoughts on him. But yeah, like, who the hell is this guy? It's like, again, how many times in the past have we been led down this road that these are the candidates, and all of a sudden they pull someone like out of the blue that we never heard of, Carl Gerards, even though Carl Gerards was, had success previously. Kies van Wanderen, Manuel Baum, Christian Gross, all these random Wagner, Frankie Kramer, all these like random names, like they weren't high on anybody's list, and then they get selected. And we're like, here we go with the same bullshit of just cycling through the million coaches, like Joseph said. Like, what are we doing here? It was nonsensical to me what we're doing. It's like, we say we're looking for all these good things. They told us what the profile is, and they go and hire somebody who didn't have any check boxes of that profile, or so I thought. And so I was furious, and I initially wanted to make it like an instant reaction. As soon as I heard the news, I wanted to make an instant reaction of it, and I said, no, give me a minute. And after like several hours of nothing coming out better that make me feel better about this whole thing, I eventually wrote the video. And then like a couple days later, you start seeing a little more inklings of news about what he had done. And then when I started deep diving on him for the tactics video, you kind of get the idea like, oh, okay. And like Baumann said, yes, he doesn't have Zweite Liga experience, but he has second division English football experience. Well, that's something. It's only for a handful of months, but that's something. It's better than nothing. He knows how to fight in a difficult division already, so that's a good thing. Anthony says if Baumann and Manga are going to go with Muslich, they need to get the signings right, or it could be a disaster. Absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, the more I started reading about Muslich and what he did at Cercle Bruges, how he took that team from a bottom of the table team or lower mid-table team and got him into Europe, right, with his style of the gegenpressing and just playing really good defense and timely goals, and then go to Plymouth Argyle, to a team that was absolute shit that was getting relegated already in like December or whatever he signed in January. And he got they were a 500 record team while he was there. I think it was like, I want to say it was like 12 wins, 10 losses, and like 8 draws, something like that. Don't quote me on that. Maybe it wasn't that many games. I mean, it probably wasn't English football. They got a million games in second division. But it had a 500 record, and they beat Liverpool in the FA Cup. Liverpool, who won the league this year, so Liverpool were going for that. They didn't have their best team, you could say, but the players that Liverpool put out there are far better than the players that Plymouth Argyle put out there. And it was a tactics masterclass by Meyer Muslich and his men to win that game. The way they outnumbered Liverpool on the flanks. They kept the central part of the midfield compact. Timely clearances by their defenders. The goalkeeper played out of his mind. It was a great performance by them, and they won that game deservingly. I think they ended up losing to Man City, I think, ultimately, but that's a great performance, and nearly got Plymouth survived. They still got relegated, but he, from everything I read at Plymouth Argyle, he actually did a pretty decent job getting the team to be able to fight, because they had no fight. It looked like Schalke much of the year. They had no fight, and all of a sudden he comes in and was able to get their spirits up. Everyone loved him. The fans loved him, and it tells you how much they loved him when they were absolutely pissed off. Where he goes on May 4th, tells everybody, "I love this club. This is my club. I want to be with them. I feel good things happening." And then May 30th or whatever day it was, and says, "I'm getting out of here. I'm going to Schalke." They were pissed off at him, and so you're only pissed off at somebody when they leave if you thought there was some good in there that you thought could have happened with your team, and you felt like you were stabbed in the back. While the stabbing in the back part doesn't look so good, the fact that they had such strong emotions for him when he said he was leaving tells you that he was doing some good things there. In the Plymouth Argyle base, it seems like that they did like him, and they felt betrayed by, 1 minute he says, "I love the club," and the next minute he says, "I'm out." And essentially he forced his move out of Argyle, because he told, I think 1 week he told the owner, like, yeah, I'm on board. Let's start picking up some players for next year. And then like a week later, it was like, I'm never coming back to this club. You might as well give it to me now. You might as well trade me. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know if Baumann got involved or Mega got involved. He said, hey, gave him an offer he couldn't refuse. But that's how it all happened out. But the negativity from the Argyle fans tell me that he was doing good. Everything you heard from the Bruges side, that he did good stuff as well. So, yeah, it is. We have to keep an eye on this because maybe he does the same thing to Schalke. You know, maybe Bayern comes calling. He's like, you know what, I'm done. I love Schalke. Peace out. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, not the best of exits for somebody from one team to another. But the emotion tells you that he did good things there, and they had some hope that he could get them back to the championship, you know, the following year. So, going back to like the immediate news when this all happened, I think it was Gamer Brother said like, I got no hype for this. Like I have zero hype for this because this makes no sense. This is out of the blue. That's how we all felt. That's how I felt. And then upon doing the research, upon hearing Bauman's words, how he said like the profile that was out there was the profile, but not necessarily the priority that we had. And then when I was doing the deep dive on Muslic, you know, from what I saw, what he's trying to implement, I think would work at Schalke if they got the players right, as Anthony says. And so I am much more optimistic now. Do I think someone on Twitter, Alex Gelsenkirchen, or someone put a poll out there like, where do you think Schalke is going to end up next year in terms of the table? Do I think they're going to be in a promotion spot? Do I feel optimistic right now without knowing any player movement that they're going to be in a playoff promotion spot? No. But I could see them, if things go well, be in the 6 to 8, maybe 6 to 8 range if they get if the players right. Hell, if it goes really well, maybe we're talking. But I ain't get there. Just looking at what the manager wants to implement in a tough division, and to get the players right, I could easily see 6 to 8 as a minimum. But time will tell. It depends on what Bauman does this offseason. That's going to be huge. But I'm much more optimistic now than I was. You know, you can ask Jack. Jack and I were, you know, texting back and forth, and Jack's like, "I take it you're not happy about this." I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm pissed off at this. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life." But now I feel better, getting more of the backstory on it, so I'm not as pissed off as I was before. I'm actually quite the opposite. I'm more optimistic now. So I'm going to be excited to see what happens this summer. I really am. Yeah, let me know your comments on if you agree with the words that Bauman and what you've heard about Muslic, or you still feel the same way. And that's fine if you feel the same way, right? We've been burned before. We fell in love with people before and got burned before, right? So if it's going to bring us any kind of resemblance of what we had under Tedesco in terms of the winning, great. But again, that winning, we were in every game, but we weren't dominant by any stretch. If we're going to press people to hell and get some results out of that, let's go for it. But it's got to be drastically better than what we saw this year. I don't want to be fighting for relegation again. That was the last several years. It's sickening. It's not a way to enjoy a season, or not a way to watch a season. You're not going to enjoy it at all. But we like to see some wins, right? Like to have some victory Mondays for a change, not just once or twice every quarter or something like that. So I'm excited for it. Let's see what happens. It's all about what Bauman does this offseason. So, oh man, yeah, that's it. That's all I got for Schalke. There's some other news bits. Oh, the one thing I'll end here with Schalke is we got to see what Bauman talked about in his press conference was like, essentially, we need to stop the leaks. And what he said at the press conference is, look, nobody knew who we were going for. Because that's what we want to see here. Everyone keep their traps shut. We know what we want internally. Nobody else has to know, and then we just do it. Just like Myron Muslic. No one knew we were going after Myron Muslic. Everyone had all these other people in mind. Not that we weren't looking at other people, but this was our guy. He says this is our number one guy, and no one knew about it. And I will agree. Nobody had Muslic on their radar. And so if that's how they're going to operate, great. We heard too many leaks before, you know, whether it's giving a little bit of information to Sky Dirk or Andy from Vaz or whomever, and Tony Lieto from Kicker. You know, all these guys getting little tidbits, Plettigol, you know, Florian Plattenberg. If we're going to stop with these little leaks and just keep things professionally and do things the right way, I'm all for it. I'm all for it, but we will see how that pans out. Ace Sticker says, curious which network Bauman will lease from. Yeah. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. So far, he did good because no one knew about Muslic. So hasn't leaned on either the network, any network yet, none of the outlets yet. But we'll see how this pans out. We'll see when the signings start coming about, which outlet is starting to get more of the information than the others, right? Is it Sky? Is it Vaz? Is it Ruhr 24? We'll see. We'll see. Thanks for Schalke news as always. Have a good night. Glück auf, Joseph. That wraps the Schalke bit. Again, if you missed the news early on, this will be the last stream of the summer. A couple break. Taking a little break because I'm moving. But I'll be back in July, hopefully just after July 4th. But we'll see how it goes. But I'll keep an eye on obviously all the transfers, but gotta get situated and stuff and do all the moving stuff. So last stream for a few weeks, a couple weeks. All right, let's get into some Serie A talk here. Get the lights changed, get the mood changed. There we go. All right. All right, let's do the quick rundown of, again, if you missed it at the beginning, what we're going to talk about in Serie A this hour. Cremonese is back. Back in Serie A. Good story. They had a playoff game against, oh my God, Spezia, La Spezia. Let's talk about that. We'll give an update on the Sampdoria Brescia news. We talked about how Sampdoria thought they were relegated, got a lifeline when irregularities popped up for Brescia that could possibly cost them some points. And so Brescia didn't want to get relegated, get the points deduction this season. They wanted it next season while they're still in City B. We'll give you an update on that. And then let's talk about coaches again. Again, it's just like, talking about Schalke. It's about coaches and all the stuff that's going on. A lot of stuff is going on in Serie A with coaches. Probably more, almost as many, if not more, coaching changes than we saw, was it 2 or 3 years ago when we had all those coaches changed before. So let's get into all of it. And we're going to start with, of course, the promotion of Cremonese. Cortomuso. He's back. But before we get to that, Cremonese is back. And they are back in Serie A. Playoffs are excellent. It was nice to see the way the teams were seated in the league is kind of how it went through the tournament, with the two best teams in the playoffs, which are third and fourth best during the season, Cremonese and La Spezia. They battled it out in the finals. It was a tale of two teams. La Spezia is more, from if I remember, if I got to look at the table, but La Spezia was more the defensive team, limited their chances, while Cremonese are more the high-flying team. Who would win? And I think I predicted last week how typically defense wins, right? La Spezia had the better team in terms of defense, and so you would think that they would be able to hold things better. But again, it's second division football, whether it's Italy, Germany, England, Spain, wherever, it's unpredictable. And the final was unpredictable as well. Highly entertaining. Cremonese win 3-2 against La Spezia. They jumped up to a 3-0 lead. La Spezia mounted a furious comeback, came up just short, and Cremonese back in our lives. Great performance by them. De Luca wins MVP of the playoffs. Good for him. He had a sensational tournament. Excuse me. I take a drink there, but yeah, good to have Cremonese back. We now know all the teams that we have in Serie A. Cremonese were the last piece missing. And so, good for them. Good for them. Happy to see them back. Where do we go next here? Let's talk about more City B. And an update on the Sampdoria situation. So where we left us off, here's where we are. Brescia were awarded. We had talked about what is FIGC known for? What is Italian football known for? It's fucking up the thing that makes the most common sense, right? We all assumed just because of history has told us that they fucked things up, was that they were going to allow Brescia to remain in Serie B and maybe give them the penalty points next year while they're still in Serie B and screw over Sampdoria and Frosinone and Salernitana. Well, they did not. They surprised me. And now they are awarding or penalizing Brescia 8 penalty points. And relegates them to City C. And then, so Sampdoria's lifeline is there. They're playing a play out against Salernitana, and Frosinone is safe. Now, there is an appeal. The Brescia is going to the federal courts, and we'll see what happens there. The games are supposed to be played on June 15th and June 20th, so it was originally supposed to be, last week or the week before the play out. Now it's got pushed back to the 15th and 20th. I don't know who that helps there, Sampdoria or Salernitana. Probably Sampdoria. More time to prepare. But we'll see what happens with the appeal. Maybe the appeal falls through. I think they pushed it because whatever happens on the appeal, if the appeal for some reason goes Brescia's way, then the playout will have to be between Salernitana and Frosinone, and Sampdoria's out. So we'll see. Common sense prevailed this time, but it's not over yet. We'll see what the appeal's saying. If the appeals continue to go Sampdoria's way or Frosinone's way, however you want to look at it, that'll be amazing. That'll be the best news you heard out of FIGC in a long time. We're not there yet, but let's see what happens. Appeal should happen any day now, I would imagine. At minimum, 5 days from now. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Stay tuned for that there. Let's finish that drink. But yeah, interesting to see how that's all shaping up. All right. Let's get to Serie A. Let's talk some Paris Saint-Germain. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. PSG won their first Champions League in embarrassing fashion, 5-0. I apologize to Interisi who are watching this. I apologize, but it's funny. It's funny because this is the damn best Italian team that we have by far, and they get embarrassed. That makes us look bad. But Simone Inzaghi got humbled. Inter got humbled. What a performance there by PSG. Donnarumma, he gets his Champions League trophy. Got a feel for the guy. Feel good for him. He won the trophy there. The young kid for PSG had a fantastic game with 2 goals and an assist in the game. It's funny. They had, arguably the best player in the world, Mbappe, on their team, could never get over that hump. They get rid of him, all of a sudden they win the Champions League. Luis Enrique, marvelous story. What happened, obviously with his daughter many years ago, passing away, and waiting for her, the great tifo that the PSG crowd did for him. You feel for the good guy, for the guy. He's won now his second Champions League title with his second club, one with Barcelona, obviously, back in the day. That was 2015, 2016, something like that. And now with PSG, so, feel for the guy. He's good, but, man, Inter got humbled. I fully thought Inter was going to win the game. This is their worst game of the season, if not the worst game of the last 2 seasons. Horrible performance, especially with what didn't help was the whole rumor mill going about Inzaghi. Is he staying or is he going? We've seen this in the past many times before. I remember back at 2012 or 2013, where the whole rumor mill about Mario Götze leaving one German team to go to Bayern Munich, and that did not help his cause. And same thing now with Inter, where, Inzaghi stay or go, depends on this game. Well, that was a little too much of a heavy burden for Inter to bear, and PSG were motivated. Inter were not prepared, and wow, what a performance. What a performance. Simone Inzaghi did not prepare his team well before the final, and as a result, Inter got embarrassed, and Inzaghi resigned in shame and is now going to Al Hilal. Yes, he is. That is one of the first coaching change we're going to talk about. Inzaghi will leave Inter. How could you not after that? Even if he didn't want to go, what after that performance is like not sticking around for that. He will go to Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia. He takes over as head coach at Al Hilal on Wednesday, a day after leaving Inter Milan and 2 weeks before the Saudi Arabian club's first game at the Club World Cup. Inzaghi signed a 2-year deal with Al Hilal, lured him with an offer of reportedly more than 20 million euros a season. Wow. Set for life. The Italian genius is here is what the tweet was by the Saudi club. It was on Instagram as well. Inter was routed 5-0 by PSG in the Champions League final last Saturday, marking the most lopsided defeat in the 70-year history of the European finals. Previously, it was Milan with a 4-0 win against Barcelona. Inter have the biggest loss. Milan is always at the center of these Champions League things, huh? The 49-year-old, Inzaghi coached Inter to the Serie A title last year and was also in charge when the Nerazzurri lost the 2023 Champions League title to Man City. He was at Inter for 4 years. Al Hilal opens the Club World Cup campaign against Real Madrid on June 18th at the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens. I forgot it's in the United States. Yeah, so Inzaghi goes there. We were talking about a couple weeks ago the tier list of managers, were they world class or just Serie A elite. I definitely think Inzaghi is world class, but many said, hey, maybe he needed to win that Champions League to become world class. He's certainly Serie A elite, but to become world class, you got to win on the big stage, and he didn't get it. He didn't get it done here. Now, what's going to happen, unfortunately for him? And I don't know if he cares now because he's getting paid. He's getting paid the big bucks. So it doesn't really matter what anybody thinks, but you're world known playing in Europe, and then you go to Saudi Arabia to fade away to oblivion, like Pioli and whoever else has gone there. I think Mourinho was there briefly, and he went to Galatasaray after that. Galatasaray. It was a Fenerbahce. I don't know. He went to one of the Turkish giants. Didn't hurt his stock, but he was there for a while. Pioli, his stock's got to drop for sure. Anybody else's, Mancini's stock is dropping as we speak. So we'll see. Wish him the best. Let him go get paid and then come back. I guess is a better coach. But yeah, he was humbled. He was absolutely humbled. And it was not the only coaching change in the Inzaghi family. Not the only coaching change in the Inzaghi family. We had talked about with people in Inzaghi several weeks ago how probably months ago when on a podcast with Frank, it's like people Inzaghi is excellent at bringing a club from Serie C or Serie B and promoting them. But when he gets to Serie A, he's not given the right, I guess, personnel or help as he got in the lower leagues, and then can't compete with the teams that are bigger and just gets embarrassed in Serie A and looks like a shell of himself. He's terrible at Milan. He's terrible at all the stops he's had in Serie A. Every time you think he's going to do really well, he doesn't. He had a really great team last time around, came to Serie A, and they sucked, and he got fired immediately. So this time, Pisa, his team, Pisa, finishes second in the league. Really good, and it wasn't even close. The third place and the fourth place teams weren't even close to Pisa this year. He could have stayed with them. And what I said was like, maybe instead of going to Serie A isn't for everyone. Everyone has their niche, their thing, right? Some managers are good at keeping their team in Serie A. Some managers are good at getting your team to a Champions League or titles. Some guys are getting your team promoted. Maybe Inzaghi's his bread and butter is getting the team promoted from the lower league to the upper league, and that's it, right? Well, maybe he listens to our show, watches our streams. Who knows? But Daniela Luongo. I got hockey in my mind. The finals are tonight. It says per calciomercato.com, people Inzaghi to Palermo. So after getting Pisa promoted to Serie A, he leaves Pisa. I'm not going to Serie A. I'm going to get Palermo promoted to Serie A now. If he gets Palermo promoted, he is going to be on another level. I think this is good for him. I think it's good for him to get this experience in these battles, to get teams in like the promotion battles. And maybe that'll help him with enough experience. If he gets Palermo promoted, and if he doesn't stay with them, then maybe get a mid-table to a European contender team to try to do well. No more of these jobs with the bottom feeders. It doesn't do him well. He just goes back down, back to lower league. So I'm happy for Inzaghi, for both Inzaghis, but for people, he's staying in Serie B, gonna be at Palermo, and try to get them promoted. If he gets them promoted, man, he'll be amazing. Now he says, I don't see him getting a job at another big club again after that embarrassment in the UCL final. Yeah, Simone might not. We'll see though. We'll see what he does. I'm sure it's going to be something desperate enough. There is a team, which I'll talk about here in a second, that nobody seems to want to go to. We'll get to them. But people Inzaghi, happy for him. Stayed in Serie B, kind of listen to us, right? stick to your bread and butter at the moment and get those teams to Serie B to Serie A. Maybe Palermo finishes top 2 next year. Whether he stays with them or goes to another team, his next step in Serie A, if he goes back to Serie A, should be with a team that's contending for Europe, not for a bottom team, because he's not going to get the resources he needs to succeed. At least if he goes to a team that's fighting for Europe, he'll get some more resources, and then we can maybe see who the real Pippo Inzaghi is. But everything we see from the City B level, you think he's a fantastic manager. It just when he gets to the big leagues, it doesn't work out. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But congrats to Pippo Inzaghi if all confirmations are correct. Pippo has given himself a lot of experience by taking on clubs in City B, trying to get them promoted. Yeah, I think it's going to do wonderful for his career, if that's what it is. All right, that doesn't stop with the coaches. I do want to make a quick comment, but I'll save this for last. I'll put this at the bottom here. You just saw it there, but let's see our next bit of news. Antonio Conte, he is staying in Napoli, and we said that we felt that Antonio Conte would stay in Napoli because all these rumors about Kevin De Bruyne, who is going to Napoli. We heard rumors about Kevin De Bruyne possibly coming to Napoli. His wife was shopping around. They were spotted together in Naples. She was looking for an apartment. Kevin De Bruyne is not going to come here for chump change. Anybody else, no disrespect to Calzona and Rudy Garcia, but he's not going to come to a club where he get paid lucratively in MLS to a mid-table manager in Serie A. No, he's going to go there for an elite manager, and he's going there to the elite manager, world-class manager, Antonio Conte. So that told me Antonio Conte was staying. It was confirmed after talks between ADL and Conte. There's going to be combative, but they both seem on the same page at the moment. So Amazing Vincent says KDB versus Modric will be cinema. Yeah. What the rest of the teams look like, I don't know. We'll get to both those managers in a second. But yeah, Antonio Conte agreed to continue coaching Napoli on Thursday, committing to the future to the club that he led to his 4th Serie A title last week. I mean, what a last couple years has been for Napoli and their fans. Full speed ahead, stronger than before, Aurelio De Laurentiis said on Twitter. Conte secured a salary increase and guarantees that the defending champions will reinforce their squad this summer. See, he cannot be content with what he has. He needs his ownership to spend on him. He has to. And so they made some agreement. So obviously KDB is being one, but I bet you they don't stop there. Deal reportedly remains valid through 2027. Conte wasn't sure whether he'd stay at Napoli as recently as last month, but he says, I'm happy in Naples and I'm working for fans who gave me something emotionally. That's very important, but whoever hires me knows that I bring with me expectations. He continued, people hire me and think, you have to finish first or second. Even if you finished 10th the year before and you have to fight for the title, qualifying for Europe isn't enough. I can handle all of that, but I'm not stupid. If there aren't the resources in place to achieve that, I can't achieve that. So, Antonio Conte remains. That's one piece that we were looking for. But then, Conte Sao, would he stay or would he go? Well, apparently he's gone. He was fired. In comes an old face, Massimiliano Allegri. Are we all Allegri at the moment? I don't know, but Allegri come back. Cortomuso is back in our lives. Allegri 2.0 at Juventus did not work. They were challenging, obviously for Champions League in Europe, but they weren't the same as 1.0. How will Max Allegri 2.0 work out at Milan compared to 1.0? 1.0, they got the Scudetto in 2011. What can he do now? He came at the beginning of the banter era, or after he left, it led him to the banter era. He won what? 6 Scudetti with with Juventus. Plus the 7th he had with Milan from before. So he got the wealth of experience. He's an elite manager. He is a world-class manager. He was. Does he still have it is the question. Still Serie A elite. He's still Serie A elite. He has a big task on his hands with Milan. Obviously, there's a turnover going to happen. Reinders reportedly gone for 60 million euros or around that to Man City, which is a freaking steal for Man City. Theo Hernandez possibly going to... Who the hell is he going to? Bayern Munich? Who was it? I forget who wanted. who wanted Theo Hernandez. It's only 30 million euros. Like, that's a freaking steal too. Like, what are they doing in Milan? Are just giving away the farm? Essentially, it's a rebuild for Milan under Allegri. But we'll see what happens. He says Leao is not going to be touched. He said Leao is going to be the focal point of his team. Whether Magnon stays or not, that's the next piece that we're looking on. But means if it's a great move for Milan, only Serie A to focus on. It's true. I think the better move would be get Antonio Conte for this season, this next season, because he only has one league to worry about. We'll see if Napoli can contend on multiple fronts next year. But yeah, for Allegri, he's got to worry about the 1 year, or one league, minus Coppa Italia. We'll see how that works out. I think Milan will be challenging, obviously, again, for depending on how the transfers go, but they should be contending for top 4. Not in the top 4, I said fighting to get in the top 4. We'll see what happens. What kind of Allegri do we get? Is it going to be the Cortomuso? Is it going to be the defensive, boring ass shit that wins games but is not attractive? Probably. We saw that both times with Juventus, and we saw that with Milan as well. I love how this article here, and obviously, is it Le Popolo who wrote this? Doesn't say. No, it's the France AP. Vincent, I don't know why they do anything. I don't know why Milan does anything. Apparently, maybe he's discontent, or I don't know. Maybe they felt that he wasn't performing professionally as he should. The rumors were that he was doing coke, but I don't know. That's his rumors. I don't know anything about any of that stuff. So, but in this article about Allegri on the score, which I thought was Anthony LaPopolo, who was a Milan fan, but this has come from France AP. They said like Milan were inches away from winning the Scudetto before when he won back-to-back Scudetto before Juventus won it, where Montari's goal goes in. And it's funny that they bring up the Montari goal that didn't happen back in the day. So hilarious. But yeah, we'll see what Allegri brings. I don't know how it's going to work out. In the article it says, Allegri returned to AC Milan on Friday as the alien 7-time European champion try once again to rebuild following an awful season which left him out of Europe. Milan have turned to serial winner Allegri in their hour of need, wildly expecting the side who got terminated. AC Milan is pleased to announce that Allegri has been appointed as the head coach of the men's first team. Continues on, Milan did not reveal details of the deal, but Italian media widely report that Allegri has signed a 2-year contract worth 5 million euros a season. That's a steal. I think at Juventus he was getting 9 million a year, with the option to extend for a further 2 years. Allegri has become the 4th coach in a year for Milan. Wow. 50, blah, blah, blah. It goes on this and that about Allegri's career. Says he's been a hiatus since last May when he got fired from Juve after the season. And they're going to talk about Conceição, but Allegri's back. I don't know how I feel. Obviously, it's better than having a name like a Muslic, who I had no idea who the hell that is. We all know who Allegri is. We know what he brings. He's going to bring defensive stability, or try to, and try to win games 1-0 and 2-0. That's his goal. He tried that at Juventus the second time, wasn't so much successful, but still had a really, really good team, was challenging for Europe Champions League. So we'll see. I think Milan will be contending again. Milan would like to sign Ricci now. Yeah, that'd be great. I'd take that. Says Anthony says, I think Allegri was right for the right hire for where the club is right now, and Modric, the Modric signing. So this is I like Anthony brought up Modric. Modric signing is really good, and people are like, why are you bringing in an aging midfielder like Modric? Yes, he's world class. Yes, he's won 1 million Champions League trophies. What do you want? 6 Champions League trophies with Real Madrid, which is that's ridiculous. Might be the most in history. But we saw the best of Pirlo Inzaghi when he was with Max Allegri at Juventus. And now you got Modric, who is a similar type player and will play in a similar type role as Pirlo. So the thinking is that Modric, you can get the best out of Modric like he did with Pirlo in his later years. Modric is 2 years older than Pirlo was back then. But hey, Pirlo was MVP of the year, best midfielder in the league for 3 years in a row or something like that. Shit, I'll take that with Modric. He's got the quality, for sure. Even if he doesn't give you a full 90 every year, every week, give you 60 minutes. That's good enough, right? It would have been nice to see him and Reinders. Not gonna lie, but that ain't gonna happen now, is it? But yeah, Modric signing is gonna be good. And I think the Modric with Allegri is going to be a good combination. There'll be some players who will benefit from Allegri for sure, and others will not. Leao being the focal point for Allegri will be big, but I'll see how that works. The strikers have never done really well. Ronaldo got his goals. Dybala did well before Ronaldo, but we'll see how Allegri uses the attacker, because Vlahovic couldn't get the best out of him. Allegri couldn't, so we'll see. Redbird doesn't want to win, Vincent. They want top 4. That's it. They want to be old Arsenal. Be top 4. That's it. So we'll see what happens in Allegri 2.0. Another bit of a shocker was Gasperini decides to leave Atalanta. I understand why he wants to leave Atalanta. He's done everything he could with Atalanta. He's turned them from essentially a team that was barely above relegation. Yeah, they had the great years of Giacomo Bonaventura and stuff like that, but like they were just a small fledgling team. It seems like really weren't a threat in Serie A, and he turned them into serial winners to challenging for Europe and Champions League, revolutionizing Italian football with his brand of football that we hadn't done. We were all Catenaccio before, and then he comes in and kind of changes things. Now all the managers are playing attacking football, but he was really the guy who started the whole thing, it seems like. And don't say Ventura started that. Please don't say Ventura started anybody. Nobody. But Gasperini did marvelous things at Atalanta. The only thing he could do more than what he did already is win the Serie A title. And it's hard to compete with the Inters and the Napolis of the world. They got a little bit better funding, but what he's done is created a scouting juggernaut where they can sign anybody, turn them into stars, and sell them for huge profits, and just keep that rotation going and get the team continually in Champions League. Now he goes to Roma. Yeah, I love this move to Roma. Roma is going to have more resources than Atalanta. If I were Gasperini, I would take the scouting department with me from Atalanta and take him to Roma. Friedkins should help them out a lot. They're still there, right? Vincent, is it Friedkin still there? Is that who's still there at Roma? But I like the move. I'm curious to see how it turns out. Here an article says Gasperini will leave Atalanta after 9 hugely successful years ahead of his move to Roma. Departs after turning the Bergamo club from provincial also-rans and the shadow of the Milan Giants down the road to one of Italy's best teams and even Europa League winners last year. Yeah, Europa League winners. I'm like, didn't even have to win Champions League. Didn't have to win the title. He won the Europa League. That is huge for a team for Atalanta. He's going to have a statue if he doesn't already have a statue there. In the last few hours, I've decided to put an end to a wonderful 9-year-long story. I'm ending my experience in Bergamo as head coach of Atalanta. I decided to end my relationship with the club, and no responsibility should be put upon the club or its directors. I've simply come to understand that the time has come to take this step. And every year we thought this would happen, but I think I was more surprised that it happened now than it did before. Hopefully he can win the Europa League again. Yeah, absolutely. Roma were close before, right? Atalanta finished third this past season, secured Champions League once again with 2 matches left to play. That's huge. Gasperini set to join Roma on a 3-year contract with a net salary of 5 million euros. Okay, to reestablish themselves in the Serie A top 4, and you gotta put them up there now with Gasperini there. See how long it takes to implement his style. How does this change this whole thing now with Roma? He was like the culture of Atalanta. Yeah, he had plenty of help from the hierarchy, but to get his style of brand of football that he wants, it took a while. It took a couple years. Will he get that with Roma? Will he need to? Can he use the pieces that he has now? He has a wonderful goalkeeper, one of the best goalkeepers in the league. By the way, goalkeeper of the year in Serie A, Svilar, and a lot of other good pieces, right? Dybala and others. So may not take long for Roma. The Friedkins know they'll have to buy who Gasperini wants, or he'll want to, or he wouldn't have signed. Yeah, so I'm curious to see who he signs. Maybe Robin Gosens. Maybe brings a bunch of Retegui and some other guys from Atalanta. We'll see what happens there, but I'm excited for this. And you got to give Ranieri his credit too. What Ranieri did with Roma after the whole shit saga that happened at the beginning of the year. Ranieri did a fantastic thing, man. Once again, The Tinkerman did it once again. Did tinker just enough to make Roma really good again. So look at Roma right now. I'll put Roma right now top 4 next year. We'll see what happens. Don't know what the player movements are going to be like, right? But with Gasperini at the helm, with a lot of talent that they have there, he's set up really well. We'll see how this shapes up. But I'm liking Roma already. I can hear Frank in Wisconsin say Roma's going to win the Scudetto next year. I don't know. Conte is probably still be #1 guy right now, but excited to see Kone and Sule under Gasperini. Absolutely, absolutely. They're gonna be fun to watch. They are gonna be fun to watch. So yeah, let's see what else it says in this article here. Not much. Just talking about the history of Gasperini, but yeah, I mean, going to his Roma club. I was gonna say advantage Roma in the Derby della Capitale. We'll get to it. Well, let's get to the rivals now, because like they weren't quite either. Baroni left, which was a shocker to me. I think Baroni, like me, thought Lazio had a really good chance of making Champions League this past year, and they didn't. They kind of took a step back, if even slightly. He stepped down. They had to do something, especially with the Gasperini news. Where were they going to go? Sarri already told him no in the past, but he changed his mind. Maybe they offered him lifetime supply of cigarettes. I don't know. But Sarri is back after 15 months with Lazio. Sarri has returned home, Lotito said. He replaces Baroni, who stepped down at Lazio coach last Friday after filling for Europe next season. Baroni took over last summer, went through 3 coaches in the season. Let's see. His return is a choice of heart, conviction, and vision, said Lotito. With him, we want to resume a path interrupted too soon, knowing that together we can bring back enthusiasm, identity, and ambition. Welcome back to your home, Commander. Yeah, there was a falling out before between them, but apparently they're all is good. Time heals all wounds. All it takes is 15 months, I guess. I thought Sarri would never come back to Lotito, but he did. They convinced him. Whether it's, hey, I'm going to sign whatever players you need, or whatever the reason was for the fallout before, even if it was a slight thing, I think Sarri will get his guys. How much has the team changed since he was there last 15 months ago? Not much. There's good players are Lazio. The derby, the Rome derby is going to be good. And not that it wasn't good. Vincent begrudgingly says it's a great move for Lazio. Yeah, the derby is going to be great. I think Lazio are at a better place now with Sarri than they were previously, just because a lot of what he did was still there. It doesn't take much for him. He got a lot of the players he had before are still there, so should be able to get back to what he was doing before. Implement his style. We'll see, man. We'll see how this is going to be. But it's going to be fun to watch Lazio and Roma this year. Especially when they go after each other. Especially those 2 animated coaches there. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. But when I heard Sarri's back after the Gasperini news, I was like, yeah, let's go. Let's go. This is going to be entertaining. We'll see what happens at Inter as well. Now that Inzaghi's gone. But maybe someone we talk about here is going to be there. One of the names floating around this year was going to be Vincenzo Italiano. All the great work he did at Bologna, Fiorentina before that. Maybe he's going to go and take a big job. Well, especially after the Coppa Italia win. But no, he says, I am staying. Staying through 2027 after the Coppa Italia win. He loves what he did at Bologna. Doesn't want to leave him. I kind of love that from Vincenzo Italiano. He's due for great things. He's going to be a great manager. He already is a great manager. He's going to be Serie A elite, going to be world class. I feel like he's a really good manager. And he's a cup merchant too. So like that's hard to have both qualities, it seems like lately. And there's a few of them who do that. But yeah, it says we are really happy to prolong a relationship with Vincenzo Italiano, Fenucci said on Thursday. As we previously stated on a number of occasions, this has always been our intention, and we are ready to take on the challenges of next season together. I would imagine he would ask for more resources to help them compete in Champions League next year, as opposed to also Coppa Italia and in the league. In Italiano's first season at Bologna, he directed the club to a victory over AC Milan in the cup final, in the central team's first major trophy in 51 years. I am happy to continue on this journey. We have a lot of exciting competitions to take part in and the objectives still to achieve together. Bologna finished 9th in Serie A but qualified for the Europa League because of the cup title. Italiano had been linked with a possible move to AC Milan, but the contract extension includes a salary increase to 3 million euros per season, per Gazzetta dello Sport. Yeah, so one of the teams that he was possibly linked to, Juventus. Juventus was, obviously they got rid of. They decided Tudor's not going to be the guy. I don't know if they officially said it yet, but Tudor's not going to be the guy next season, unless they can't find anybody. But many people thought it's going to be him or Palladino, right? Both those guys are two guys who are going to be Serie A elite coaches, if not, eventually world class, so they continue on the path that they're headed. And so that was my thing. It's gonna be he's gonna go to Juventus, Milan, maybe Inter if Inzaghi moves on. But no, you got to give him credit. He's staying at Bologna, keeping on what he's doing. He's going to show that it wasn't a fluke with Bologna. Not that anybody thinks it's a fluke. They ended the season as the best team in the league in terms of form to end the season. Obviously winning the Coppa Italia as well. They ended Champions League on a good note. They had a bad Champions League campaign, but they ultimately ended the campaign very well with some nice games there. So yeah, him staying there, that's great. It sucks for anybody else who may have wanted him. Another guy who is available is Palladino. Palladino was hoping for some bigger things like Baroni and didn't get to achieve them. So he and Fiorentina split by mutual consent. I was surprised at this one because I thought he had a good year despite not getting the objectives the way we all thought he was going to get. I still thought it was a good team. He turned Moise Kean from a guy who was like not a has-been but never was to a guy who complete resurrection, should have won comeback player of the year. He got a lot of talented players on that team, but says Fiorentina can confirm that Palladino's contract as well as those in his back room have been terminated by mutual consent, the club said. Palladino leaves Fiorentina less than a month after extending his contract with the Florence-based club in 2027. So where does Palladino go now? One rumor was going to be that maybe he's going to go to Juventus. Sure, he could. It's been a name that's always been linked together, right? He could go there. Inter has now got a vacancy. He could go to Inter, take over for Inter. Or, hear me out, he could go to Atalanta. Atalanta needs a coach. Palladino's style is not terribly dissimilar to Gasperini. Gasperini is obviously, it's hard to compare with Gasperini, but it's attractive attacking football. If you're looking at teams that best match up with Palladino's style, I don't think Juventus is there. I think of the three teams I just mentioned, they're third. Not to say that he can't build a team, any manager can build a team, but from the start, from the get-go, it's not Juventus, in my opinion. Tell me if I'm wrong. Oh, don't say that, Vincent. Don't say that. But then you look at Inter and Atalanta, and those are both attractive. Inter obviously are fantastic. Well, they're freaking players they have left, right, and center. We'll see who stays after this 5-0 game. And then Atalanta with what they've done there. Now, Vincent's saying Atalanta might get Juric. I hope not. I hope they watch Juric briefly at Roma and then at Southampton, who had the worst point total almost in Premier League history. Not all his fault. I like Juric. I love Juric. I don't love him. I like him. Plays good defense. At least in Serie A he's good. He had Torino locked down a 10 spot for years, it seemed like. Produced world-class defenders. But attacking-wise, they weren't much home to write about. I think Atalanta needs a coach who has more of an offensive mind to them. And Palladino would fit that billing over Juric. I think I would like to see Juric in a top team and see how he would do. Didn't really get that with Roma. Didn't get the whole stay there. I can't see Inter hiring him. I can't see Juventus hiring him. I hope he doesn't go to Atalanta. That's just me. I mean, I'm curious to hear what the Atalanta fans think about him. I'm sure Milan fans want yours there to go there because they're like, hey, you go ahead, collapse that team. But I think the best thing for Atalanta is to hire an offensive-minded manager. I think Palladino fits that mold, but we'll see. We'll see where they end up going with this. Maybe they think they get someone else who's not on my radar. It's possible. I don't know, but I'm curious. Who do you guys think would fit best at Atalanta, Inter, and Juventus? Juventus might be left out in the cold in all of this, which is the funny thing. The team, they used to be everyone wanted to go to Juventus, and now it seems like they can't hire anybody. Obviously, Giuntoli's gone. They got some things to figure out. But I still think it's an attractive job. It's going to be a team that you have to win. High expectations, obviously. It seems like nobody wants to go there at the moment. They prefer to go other places. We'll see how it shapes up. Let's see if Tudor stays. I can't imagine he will. I thought he did really... His profile is really better now. Whether he stays or not with Juventus, his profile has been lifted because he's been a serial mid-table, if not lower manager, and now with what he did at Juventus, he's got credibility, more credibility, right? Vincent says Inter, Fabregas, Juventus, Tudor, Atalanta, Palladino. Obviously like the Palladino shout. Tudor at Juventus, keep him there. Yeah, why not? He didn't do terribly. He got in the Champions League, right? Or Mota was out. Mota's still available. Maybe Mota goes to Inter. He says Fabregas to Inter. I think eventually Fabregas will go to a big club. I honestly don't see it, barring a catastrophe with Como. I don't see him leaving there for 2 to 3 seasons. They're willing to invest in him. He's done marvelous thus far. Isn't he part owner or something like that? Maybe he's not. But at Como, obviously it's a great part of the country to be in. But if Como want Europe next year. That's why they're going to pump in 80 to 100 million euros, if not more, towards them. They're going to risk financial fair play or flirting with it this upcoming summer. But say they do spend that money. If he can get them into Europe, or sniff in Europe, or surprise some of these big boys, the top, it's no longer 7 sisters, it's like the 9 sisters now. Oh, so he does. Fabregas does own share. Yeah, so like it's going to be hard for him to go. I can't see him unless he, Vincent says the same thing, part owner. Unless he wants to go to another place, I could see him staying there for a while, especially if he succeeds. Like I'm saying, what I was trying to get to. They spend the money they're trying to spend. They do spend it, and they are able to knock down one of the big teams or several of the big teams and can challenge for Europe, or even exceed that. Shit, he ain't going anywhere for a while. Maybe he has aspirations to become a top manager somewhere else, and I'm sure he probably will one day. But if he's a part owner, if he's at a place like Como, what he's done thus far, he's done a fantastic thing too. And then again, and this is going to be Overreaction Monday on a Wednesday, maybe he gets some sniffing Champions League next year. Big ask, I know. But let's say where we thought Monza was going to end up being under Berlusconi and Galliani. What if Como gets there and they all of a sudden start challenging for Champions League all of a sudden? They become the new, like, not PSG in terms of money, but, you know, they had that feeling where PSG came in out of nowhere. It seemed like all of a sudden started dominating the league. I'm not saying they're going to dominate Serie A, Como are, but they're going to be in the discussion now every year to be in the top 4. Why would Fabregas leave something like that? Right? Unless a big team came calling and couldn't pass up, or the Arsenal job came or something. I don't know. But we'll see. But Fabregas to Inter would be something. If he ever decided to leave Como, Inter could work. Probably take some of the youngsters if he could with him. But Fabregas is an interesting case study, and I think he would work well in many Serie A clubs. I think he could work in many places in Europe, right? Maybe Barcelona comes calling for him one day. Maybe Arsenal, like I said. or somewhere else. Maybe goes to I don't know. He is a manager to keep an eye on. Who will? We talk about the tier list. He will one day be not only, I think, a Serie A elite, could be world class, possibly, right? We'll see. Way too early to tell. Way too early to tell. But that's a nice shot. And then Thiago Motta is also the other guy whose name is out there. Maybe somebody else takes a chance. Maybe he goes to Atalanta. Thiago Motta. Right? Inter could go back to, or Thiago Motta could go back to Inter. I'm curious to see how those 3 jobs shape out. I really do. I hope Ivan Juric doesn't go. I really don't. All right. Let's end this Serie A talk with a comment on the youth. It's not more so the coaching. If you got any more comments or questions, please let me know. Whatever you guys want to talk about, I'm there. But last thing I want to talk about is about the youth. This is a funny post that's on Instagram or something like that. Oh, De Zerbi. I totally forgot about De Zerbi. De Zerbi's got to come back too. De Zerbi at Inter or Juventus maybe? Or Atalanta? De Zerbi can go anywhere. Good shot. But back to the youth. So Nico Football Opinion says there's very few young Italian talents, especially compared to France, Spain, England, and Portugal. And then Wonder Kids on Instagram says, Nico, Italy won the U17 Euros last year. They won the U19 Euros the year before that and finished second at the U20 World Cup. The talent is there. First team opportunities are not. And that's something we had been talking for a long time. There's a screen share. Sorry about that. There's a screen share on Instagram. But this is something we've talked about for a long time. We're not the only ones. A lot of people talked about that. It's like Serie A Italian teams have talent. They're not making their way to the senior teams, getting that pitch time, and they're not making it to the Azzurri. But there are talented players. Obviously, look how good the youth teams are doing. But for whatever reason, backwards Serie A is, as it always has been, they don't give these young players opportunity time in the first team or pitch time with their top teams. And so they go to waste. You look at 6-year-olds at Ajax or in Germany or Netherlands in general or Germany, hell, even in Spain and England. Freaking Lamine Yamal this year, 17 years old. One of the best. Was he 17? 17 or 19? I think he's 17. One of the best players in the world. 17 years old. When's the last time you saw a 17-year-old player play an entire season in Serie A? Donnarumma? When he was 16 for Milan? Last one? Get consistent first pitch team, first team pitch time. It doesn't happen. And for whatever reason in Serie A, they don't play the youngsters like they should. It's we're nurturing them. You have that old Nicolo Zaniolo thing to look at, like, well, they could get injured. Look at him. He had all this immense talent, and he got injured all the time because they rushed him. It's like, no, maybe he just needed to work out more, or other factors, bad luck. But you can't look at that and say, this is why we're not going to start the Italian youth. There's clearly talent there. You got to find a way to get them more time on the pitch. Doing what Chelsea do and just loan them out to other teams, it's not going to do it all. They can play in Serie A, Serie A B, Serie A D, all they want. It's not going to get them experience they need to be on the pitch in Serie A against the big boys to really prove themselves. Or what we're going to see end up happening is one of these bigger clubs is going to put them into their farm system. You know, Marco Verratti left when he was super young. He went and thrived at PSG. These youngsters have to go and play. That is what needs to happen. We'll see what happens. I don't know if it's going to change, but there's talent there in the youth. They just need first team opportunities, and they're not there. Hell, maybe they need to go to the Netherlands. That's a great place to play the youth. You know, they're developing obviously their own youth. There's plenty other youths in the Netherlands that get opportunities. Maybe that's where they need to go. I don't know. Talents like Camarda, Liberale do need first team experience. Yeah, fuck, I would start them next season. Or not start them. I would put them in the rotation to play a lot. And it's hard to be at these top clubs to play, but find a way. They found a way to get Lamine Yamal. Lamine. What is it, Lamine Yamal? It's pitch time. He's one of the best players in the world now. He's up there. Inter had to use 3 players against him to beat Barcelona, and it still almost did it. And I'm not saying we have Lamine Yamal's in our youth system in Italy, but my God, give him first team time, pitch time. I can't say that tonight for whatever reason. But they need to be on the pitch. All the way they're going to get better. Right? So, I mean, I'm beating a dead horse. But that's what needs to happen. Talent is there. They just got to find a way to get them on the pitch, man. Sick of this shit. All right. I am done. I'm done for tonight. 2 hours in. Again, this is the last stream for a couple weeks. It'll be my summer hiatus here while I work on a move out Midwest. So next time we stream, barring anything crazy happening in the news between now and then, it'll be a different setup in the background there. So catch you guys soon. Enjoy the brief summer that I'm not here. Yeah, I'm sure the world will look different in Serie A and Bundesliga and German football by the time I get back. But yeah, enjoy it, everyone. Hope everyone's having a good one, and I will catch you guys out. I'll use this outro. Whatever. Enjoy, guys. Good night.